Hello, and welcome to the season finale of Not So Fresh Off the Boat. On today's episode, we tie together some of the experiences we've had throughout this season and talk about what it means to be Mexican American in this country and how that has historically changed over time. We thank you so much for listening to us this past season. We'll have great new content coming next month, so we'll spend the rest of February working on that. Please feel free to rate, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Thank you.
All right. Welcome to episode 6 of Not So Fresh Off the Boat. Last week, you heard about our friend who joined us on the podcast, Julio, told us a little bit about his experience as a DACA recipient and somebody that had traveled back and forth from the United States to Mexico. This week, we kind of wanted to go back to something that had kind of defined our first episode of talking about, the history of immigration, but kind of tie it back to like a cultural perspective, like because of that immigration, and the legacy of everything between the United States and Mexico, how that kind of shapes Mexican American identity, what that means. No real one answer, but just kind of explore some of the complicated topics that come up when you try and dig deeper into something like that. As always, joined by my co-host Pedro Garcia, as the Spanish would say.
Hey, yo. yo, fuck Spain, dude.
Yeah, we'll get into why, all my homies hate Spain. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
I don't want to make any enemies because I was like thinking right before today's episode, I was like foresight has never been my thing, and I started thinking about, like, oh shit, man, like I'm putting up a lot of like personal information out there, like doing this, and I don't know. What if I get doxxed? What if some right wing troll finds this?
If he did, you can go fuck yourself, man. Because
No, dude. No, let's talk it out. Talk it. Don't. My DMs are open, bro. Like, let's talk this shit out.
Bro, slow down. Before you do something like that, just
man.
come talk to me.
Hey, let's just talk about it, man.
Hey. Whoa, just take it easy, man.
Hey, whoa, buddy. Whoa.
All right, enough lollygagging. Let's get to the stuff that people want to hear, okay? Or maybe they don't want to hear. This is gonna be maybe this episode might make people feel a little bit bad, even if you think that you're like a good person.
Yeah, I mean, I know I feel bad. I watched that documentary you recommended and cried twice, and then absolutely I just wanted to lay in bed.
Yeah, the documentary he's referring to, by the way, Harvest of Empire. If you have not watched it, it is free on YouTube. Will completely change your perspective on your own government, and and if you are an immigrant from a Latin American country, will make you feel like shit for the reasons that you emigrated were largely caused by the United States, only for you to be treated like shit in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Some say it's fake. Some say it's propaganda. That's actually the first comment on that video. I don't know if you looked into it.
Oh, dude, yeah. And I mean, YouTube is probably one of the most cancerous places on earth to share any sort of like social, like truth video or something that has to do with like history that isn't like the whitewashed version. Because then, yeah, you just get trolls that are like, dude, this is like all fake.
which baffles me because it's like they have I don't think I wrote down his name, but the former CIA chief.
Oh yeah.
They have him on there. He's like, yes, we did this. I was there. And then the first comment is like, this is fake. Open your eyes. This is propaganda. And I was like, dude, you got your own man's telling you he did it.
He's like, yeah, we totally destabilized other countries by creating coups and, removing democratically elected people just because we didn't like them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, actually,
what's so bad about that?
He's like, yeah, pretty simple. Destabilize, appoint new leaders, profit. Yeah, tried and true. We've done it everywhere. And then like the trolls will be like, they're trying to hypnotize you with their liberal propaganda.
He's like, he's like, started a genocide in Guatemala just so that the United States companies could get more money for fruit. Yeah, makes sense.
Been there, done that, brother.
No, it's.
Man, I feel, yeah. Honestly, I feel like I love to riff and bit, but it's tough to make jokes about that, honestly. I mean, obviously, we're joking about the fucking heartless tyrants in power that were the root of that, but
Yeah, fuck them.
watching the video, dude, when the fucking it's like the ladies crying over the bodies.
Yeah.
That was so hard to watch. Like, if I'm being honest, that shit was so tough to watch.
I mean, it's true because you think about it, and I mean, I know you made it as a joke, like for profit, but I mean, it doesn't take reading like that many history books to realize that the the theft of land, of people's self-determination throughout Latin America, South America, Central America, Mexico in general, like the forceful taking of that, a lot of it is, like you said, is just rooted in profit. It's rooted in treating other people's lives as not mattering, just so that United States corporations, United States people, the US government could have favorable conditions to their own fucking agendas that had no regard whatsoever for other people.
Yep.
Not at all. Like, and whether it be during the Cold War of trying to fight the, you know, left-leaning socialist people that were elected, like you have Salvador Allende in Chile, stuff like that, or in the situation of Guatemala with the Sandinistas. Um, yeah, it's
But yeah,
it's
we'll go. We should get into that. Us, country by country there.
that'd be a good episode for the future. Today we're focusing on Mexico, but if anybody listening thinks that that would be a good idea, feel free to reach out, like a country by country, a little, like maybe like a little
Oh
case
yeah.
study of like how, you know, we want to expand this podcast too. So if anybody that has family that are immigrants or themselves are an immigrant from these countries that we're talking about, it'd be great to hear as a direct from the source. Because we can only speak on what we know, what we've heard from our family, what we research. We don't try and fucking generalize that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not like TikTok people that are or poets that are trying to commodify off like pan dulce poems to make a shitload of money.
What was that? I keep seeing this comment everywhere that's I think you said it to me, but I also saw it in a comment like where it's like people got to stop writing these fucking HuffPo articles about my lunch was stinky.
Or no, or it would someone was making a joke of like Chicano poems, and it was like, why do you gotta like prove that you like know Spanish or like prove how Mexican you are? Because it'll be like, oh, I wake up in the morning to the smell of pan dulce, and then me and my abuela go to the mercado, and it's just like, dude, like,
First of all,
it's like
you go to
just trying to say is
Walmart.
Mexican. Yeah,
Live in the Rust
me,
Belt,
me,
bro. You're not going to the mercado.
me and my abuela go to the mercado. They're at like fucking Fry's Electronics.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, my Spanish is like very trash, but I feel like if I wouldn't even like want to get away with trying that, you know.
Yeah,
I would just feel weird, like especially if I was like I don't know, like second generation,
yeah,
because I was fucking born in Mexico, but
yeah, man,
I
you're
just
the
sometimes
OG.
like and even then I feel like it would just be so fucking whack if I started like speaking, like just throwing that, like it just sounds so forced if I did it in any of the art that I do.
You're just texting like your friends, and you're like, oh, I can come over later. I'm just at the mercado right now,
Yeah,
and
I'm at the
you're
tianguis, dude.
you're at
I
Trader
just at Best
Joe's.
Buy. Yeah. You try to haggle with the dude at TJ's.
It's just my cultura. Sorry, this is how I act.
The price is right there. That's what they would tell you if you try. I feel like if you tried that, they'd be like, I don't know.
That is a
You ever ask someone? I mean, I've done this before. I've worked retail, and so when someone asks me, the way I do it, like someone would ask me the price, or like try and like, um, I did get every now and then where someone would like try and see if like they could get some money off, um, but I would just be like, oh, let's just check this out. I'd be like, oh, actually, yeah, so we got the listed price right here. Actually, we're pretty firm on that. There's not much I can do for you, or like, I would just try and be nice about it. But I did work with people, and I have seen people that would be like way ruder about that.
Do they think like you're the CEO of like this the company that you can just fucking
I don't know what power they think we have. They like it's weird because I mean this is a weird thing to get into right now, but working retail, it's like you got customers that somehow both thought you were beneath them, but also had enough power to control the fucking
That's so true.
yeah.
So the customer's like, damn, this person works retail. They're like low. They make fucking minimum wage. But at the same time, it's like,
I wish they could
I
make
think this
less.
random Pedro guy got enough fucking clout to change the price of these Adidas tracksuit pants.
Yeah, I need these. Okay, okay. I
And
know
I
you
know
don't
that you're the
understand.
guy.
I know that you don't understand because you probably don't make enough to buy these. Okay, but I need these tonight, and I need them half off. Um, I'm so bad. I mean,
All right.
obviously, I was talking to someone about it. We'll get back on topic. I promise to all my listeners. But I was talking to a friend recently that I met working retail, and we were both talking about how at our specific location had the because he has a family. If he had
Mm-hmm.
been able to make enough to support his family at that job, he would have stayed. He liked it. He liked working. He liked helping people. He liked we didn't have to meet like quotas. We didn't get paid based off sales.
Yeah, it wasn't like not that cutthroat shit.
No, it was just like whoever comes in, anyone, like we didn't have to fight for who's gonna help them. It was just like whoever's closest, help them out, do your thing, fold some clothes, give exact change. Not a huge deal. And yeah,
Damn.
I was thinking about it. I was like, if the as an immigrant, my mindset is like I have to excel.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was like, uh, obviously it's hard to escape. Like certain ideas are floating around, and definitely for like a part of like my earlier time working in retail, I was like, man, I can't do this for my whole life. Like I got to get like a real job. But there's nothing wrong with working retail, and if it supports your lifestyle, that's like why I used to look down on like the idea of working that for life, but
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't had those views because I definitely don't think that now.
Those are the evils of capitalism for you, bro.
For real, big time.
Because if you, I swear, I mean, obviously I can't speak for everybody, but I swear to God, like I feel it in my bones that if those type of jobs, like food, like like being a waiter or like being like a line cook, dishwasher, the type of job you're describing, like retail stuff like that, like maybe like just being like like an employee for like a landscaping company, just shit like that, like little like jobs like that a lot of them are pretty flexible about like timing. A lot of them work part time and the hours are kind of sporadic. So that I bet that if those jobs paid a livable wage, like mandated by like the government, do you know how many people I truly believe would like leave like corporate America because of like the parameters to those jobs? Like how
I'm
many people wouldn't rather like, oh, I'm making enough money like working at like Taco Bell or something, and it's kind of cool. Like I like making food or something, and I have time to like read, play video games, hang out with my friends, and I have enough to like put food on the table and pay my rent, and I don't have to stress about that. Like how many people would leave like stressful jobs in corporate offices where they are like overworked to shit, and like how many, like I think the number would be pretty staggering. And I think that the only thing that separates, like you say, the people that like look down on those jobs or the people that are in them and even look down upon themselves for working them is because you're constantly told that that's not enough, and that's like the lowest of society.
Yeah, and I mean obviously like everyone is fed these things, but like I think also for me part of it was like, oh, I have to reach higher. I have to reach higher. Like my parents didn't come here just so I could just do this. But
Yeah.
that's like also a negative way of thinking. And I honestly, if like tomorrow they were like, hey, you know, your old job as like a team leader, whatever, is gonna pay like I wouldn't expect it to be the same salary, but like more than what I was making, I would strongly consider leaving my job now.
Like the
Like
amount required. Okay, so I don't know how accurate the study is, but I think I read somewhere that like once you make above, like depending on where you live, of course, and the affordability, when you make above like 75K, you're happy. Once you hit above that, your happiness doesn't really like increase that much with each like additional like metric of like salary. So
I think
yeah,
it was like
what if
100 something, but yeah,
oh maybe it's changed. Obviously, the cost of living is a lot higher.
yeah.
But say for an example, like you were getting paid like 70K to work retail.
If I was getting that paid, I would quit my job tomorrow. I would quit my job tomorrow. Go fucking hate my job so much. I tried quitting on Wednesday and it didn't work out. I don't know how that happened. I've never had that happen to me before. I was like, I quit, and boss was like, "Whoa, hold on there." And then I worked 3 more days, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I didn't quit." Uh, it was on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah.
If you guys have
So,
ever been cucked out of not quitting your job, let us know in the
yeah,
comments of the Eustace YouTube video or email us.
yeah. Someone, yeah, comment. If you're watching this on Instagram, comment wage cuck letter by letter. Whoever does it successfully, you can have my job.
Damn. This is just becoming a late stage capitalism podcast. We haven't even
Yeah,
talked about
sorry guys.
immigration.
Yeah, sorry guys. It's been a rough week. I tried to quit my job. 2 of my cars got hit. My family cars got hit while they were parked out from my house. That was an ordeal. But we're here now. And we're going to talk about our next topic, what it means to be a Mexican American. We watched, you sent me a really interesting video from BBC posted in 2015 with the same name. What does it mean to be Mexican American?
Yeah, the
Um,
video was funny.
I didn't think the views were as extreme as like what you had warned me about, but I do want to talk about Jim.
Is
Jim.
Jim the guy that was offended of the word Chicano?
He was offended by the word Chicano. I think his father, one of his parents is Mexican. The other one was I don't remember.
White.
White. Yeah, white. I don't remember what brand of white. And then
What color?
Raul, which was another person in that video. They were both second generation, and they had wildly different views. Um, Jim Price says this: Mexico, America, two sovereign nations. We got to keep it that way, and the only thing keeping that balance is the border. And I want to tie that in to the harvest of empire. You have Luis Enrique, Nicaraguan singer-songwriter, who sings a song in that, and he says, "If there were no borders, my story would never be repeated." He had a very tough childhood growing up during that Civil War time, um, and it's just crazy how like you can become so disconnected. Obviously, I don't know Jim's family, like his lineage, and what happened in the past for him, but to get to a point where you're like, we need these borders. Um, I don't know. It's pretty intense, pretty radical of you there, Jimbo.
I mean, what's funny though is like Jim is probably to most people, most Americans, I would say maybe like most conservative Americans, Jim is like as the least radical as it comes. He's like, yeah, these are two sovereign countries. They need to be treated as such. And if you come here, then you need to act like an American. And it's not that complicated.
Yeah. I guess it just the what rubbed me the wrong way was when he was like, when he had to clarify there's like nothing wrong with being Mexican. Did you catch that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Mexican American. Or the first, no, his main thing was that there's no such thing as Mexican American. You're either American or you're not. And he said
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with being Mexican. And just the fact that he felt the need to clarify that, one tells me he's had conversations where that's been misunderstood, or two, like subconsciously, whether he thinks so or not, he does think there's a problem.
Yeah.
Um, so hey, Jim Price, if you're watching this, yeah, fuck you. I don't care anymore, dude. Whatever.
Well, let's get to a little bit of history then to kind of
Yeah.
explain what Jim's talking about that's leading him to have his fucked up stupid views. Because one of the first things that we wanted to cover and something that I put forward was, I guess, like, what does it mean to be Mexican American? Who is allowed to call themselves Mexican American? Who's allowed to call themselves Mexican? what does that consciousness look like? And then the last thing, was like, what do Mexicans that live in Mexico today think of Mexican Americans? Because and this topic is so fucking complicated, because I think what people don't understand that like it to be simplified is that if you're a Mexican person that lives on the continental United States and happen to live in the states of Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, California, you're living in land that was Mexico. So it's not this easy, like there's a border and it's north and south and you're either here or you're there. We've believed that shit for fucking hundreds of years now. But this concept has been just like a man-made concept to separate two countries as if they don't actually exist at the same time simultaneously, and one has existed within the other. Like it. Oh, this makes me so mad.
Yeah. Which is like so honestly, yeah, like I didn't take any history in college. I don't think, um, and so I hadn't really revisited that in a very long time, and I don't even know if like that was really touched on.
Dude, I can remember talking about the Mexican American War for like 10 minutes. And I was in
Yeah,
AP US history.
and they were like, oh shit, yeah, we talked about this. Yeah, weren't they just like, hey, uh, and then God said, we deserve California, and we had to fight for it, and we won it, and that was that, and everything worked fine.
And they don't tell you, Pedro.
What do they don't tell us? Tell me.
I highly recommend anybody listening, and I would love to do further research on the Mexican American War specifically, because it's a topic that is vastly overlooked, I think, in traditional just public education. I know historians would probably be like, no, it's not. Like, we talk about it all the time. But for a public education perspective, it's a topic that I think is vastly overlooked, with its importance in setting up like the Civil War. Like, a lot of people say, like, the little foundation that like started the controversies that we're going to build into the Civil War arise out of the Mexican American War. But what they don't tell you was some of the atrocities that the American army committed while the invasion of Mexico City, of Veracruz, the the rapes, the burning of villages, just complete savagery that when you like read it, it is absurd. And you don't realize, like the debates that were happening at the time. For people listening that might not know this, when the United States won the Mexican American War, there was a heated debate about, okay, do we want the lands above the river, the the Rio Grande? Do we want the lands above that river that are going to extend west to California to the Pacific Ocean, or should we just fucking annex the entire country of Mexico and take it all for ourselves? Like, this was actually a heated debate at the time. Like, what do we do? Should we annex the entire country? We just invaded. We just won this war. And oh my God, like the debates around it, like, because you would think that people that were against annexing Mexico, like originally, be like, oh, yay, they were against annexing Mexico. They wanted to preserve a sovereign country. It's like, no, because a lot of the people that were against annexing Mexico were against it because they felt that the Mexican population could not be brought into the United States and like become citizens of the United States because of the supremacy of the Anglo-Saxon race. That these savage, dirty people that are mixed of a bunch of different, ethnicities, whether it be indigenous and European, indigenous and black and whatever, um, that they didn't deserve United States citizenship and did not deserve to be included in the republic, and that's why Mexico should be left to itself. That it was a country full of people that did not deserve self government in the United States way. Like, they didn't feel like they deserved any of it. And
Damn.
you know, it was a war. Like, I don't think that's like acknowledged enough. Like, it was a war between two sovereign nations where one took so much land from the other. Like, Mexico lost half of its land.
Hmm. And they always frame it like they always frame it in like in public education where it's like, yep, we took We went to California, we took it, and that's that. It's like they never really go into like how far they don't go into that conversation. They don't talk about how far they went in. They don't talk about like what it did. Yeah, a lot of details are overlooked. James K. Polk, if I see you in the afterlife, it's on site, buddy. All right.
Dude, oh my God. Pedro, hopefully, I mean, of course, hopefully we live very long lives, but if we both like meet in the afterlife and we both see like James, but I guess that means we went to hell because James K. Polk probably went to hell. So I guess if we see him in the afterlife, we're probably fucked
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah, dude. Yeah.
Never mind. James K. Polk, I hope I don't see you in the afterlife.
Nah, bro. I'm gonna sin. I'm gonna sin. I'm gonna get a one-way ticket straight to Polktown, baby.
You,
Pause.
you enter like the press conference that Satan has for new members. You know why I'm here.
It's like a UFC, like when they have like the two fighters on the opposite sides. This Saturday night on Dante's seventh level of hell, I'm gonna give it to Polk. Just like WWE theatrics. If that's hell, sign me up, baby. Oh man, I'm glad we can joke about such fucking awful things that have happened in the past.
No, but yeah. So to go back on that, because we're talking about like obviously the legacy of what that war means, like, and how that's shifted, what it means to be Mexican American, what it means to be Mexican. Like, I want people listening that might not be aware, like, to understand, like, if you are living in any of those states at the time or before they are belonging to the United States, you're a Mexican. You're a Mexican citizen. Like, think about that. That's the government you know. That's the culture you know. And one day, all of a sudden, you are told that you're now a citizen, becoming a citizen of this country. You are responsible to their laws. You don't know the language of this country that has just completely taken over. And you don't understand the legal system, anything like that. Like, we were talking, I know that one thing, Pedro, that you wanted discussed a little bit was like land. And one thing that, is interesting is like, and this is just an excerpt I have from a book that I had been reading, like land grants were taken away from Mexican families at the end of the Mexican American War because, well, at the end, a lot of the land that they had, the United States originally promised, like, you can keep this land, like, you can keep what you have right now, we'll like transfer it over. But the problem is that the obviously they had to present documents that proved that they owned the land. These documents are in Spanish. The land ownership legal process, like what it meant to own land, like the how you came to own it, was different because in Mexico it descended from the Spanish like colonial system. Um, and so U.S. courts often held Mexican land holdings to be illegitimate, and so it started with, this is specifically a phenomenon in California. White squatters showed up on land that Mexicans owned at the time and just built fucking houses for themselves, like on land that they didn't own. And their belief, the white squatters, was, well, we won this war. I was told that this land was for us, that we could come to, like, they didn't think they were doing anything wrong. They were like, we won.
This land is my land, motherfuckers, dude. Like, I swear to God. Also, it just dawned on me that earlier in the podcast I said fuck all of Spain. I would like to retract that. There's a lot of Spaniards out there. Um, Sorry, I didn't mean to, I was just thinking that popped in my head. Anyway, yeah. So they just showed up squatting. And so that a land grant is basically just um like a written document that says, hey,
Yeah,
we
documents
acknowledge
it.
that this was yours. Okay, because I saw a little documentary on it, and the person, so it was two sisters, who over the past however many decades their land has been getting smaller and smaller. Like originally, I think the plot they had was like cut down like sizably, like it went
Yeah,
from like 40,000 acres, something like that, to like
yeah,
3,000, something like that. And they were like, yeah, we've been in a legal battle, like since before I was born. Like my father like had to fight this fight, and his father before him, whatever. Um, and she pulls out a document. She's like, yeah, this is where Ulysses S. Grant said that we could keep this land. Um, and it just, to me, was just like, how is this an argument? How is this like a never-ending battle? Like you got boss man's signature right there. Yeah, I mean, this is like a whole case, and this is people that are struggling to keep their communities alive and just suffering. And this is like now. This is actively happening now.
Well, and of course, buddy, guess who were the people that got like shafted the most and got it taken away? Like it was predominantly the mestizo population and the indigenous population that had obviously been wrongfully and also evil fucking shit assimilated into like Spanish society by the Spaniards, who had, obviously taken over this land and taken over indigenous people's land. And that should also be acknowledged, like that even the land that Mexicans are claiming that they own, very complicated history of obviously colonialism and Spanish, the Spaniards moving from Mexico up into these territories to, take it over and claim it for Spain. Like obviously fucked up on all these sides. But a lot of the people whose land, even the indigenous population that was rightfully theirs through Mexico, those were the easiest type of people that, because their land claims were the land that they were trying to hold on to was smaller. So those were the easiest type of people to be shafted by the legal process because they didn't have the legal resources to like fight these battles in court. The large landowners, the people that were owning like a lot, and they were like mostly like white, still mostly descendants of Spaniards, like no real like the white Spanish population in Mexico at the time that was still there. Those are the type of people that kind of saw an opportunity to keep their land and side with the United States and hold on to that whiteness that they had to benefit themselves. And a lot of people did that too, because one of the things that I wanted to get into as well is, and I'm not sure, the joke about like immigrants like whitewashing for protection and to feel safe in this country goes back longer than just like a modern phenomenon, because when all this is happening with the land, from a citizen's perspective, these states like Texas, Arizona, California, they're trying to decide like who's allowed to vote, because black men are slaves at this point. They can't vote. Only white free men can vote. But there's obviously no easy racial category for this Mexican population, because the Spanish racial caste system is so vastly different than the United States, who exists on a binary of white and black or indigenous. And so that's one of the first times where you see like massive like attempts at assimilation, because there were no easy methods to count who was white and who was not. So this made voting difficult, and they couldn't easily classify Mexicans as any race. So some of the mestizo population that were like white passing tried to relinquish and abandon their indigenous identity as much as possible and be like, no, I'm Spanish. Like I'm Spaniard. Like I'm not like what you're trying to think of as like some sort of like lower class person. Like I'm a European descendant. And that legacy obviously exists to this day. And it started then because people, and I mean, it's a survival tactic. It makes,
can't knock them for it.
In the moment, like it's fucked up that they had to do it, but in the moment, that's how they saw the ability to participate politically and be able to like vote.
I mean, it's it's how the old saying goes: you got to do what you got to do. Pause for laughter.
But I found a guy in one of the books I had read, Pedro, that I think that we would be friends with. His name was Francisco Ramirez. He was a true, what they called Californio, which is like people that were, born and raised in California, because California at the time had kind of gotten its own like identity, like it was like a true unique place. Like, yeah, it was a part of Mexico, and you were a Mexican citizen, but it had like its own unique identity and unique people. And he kind of he wrote during the time of the transition from the Mexican American War to California being admitted as a state to the Union. And he wrote like, he started like papers. He originally lived in Los Angeles, I think, and Santa Barbara, I'm pretty sure. And one of the things he wrote at the time, this is a quote from him, when he's talking, what he's trying to touch on is the challenging cultural situation of white settlers coming in and saying like, this land is the United States, this is like white Anglo-Saxon culture like trying to take over a land that has culturally been unique and Mexican. Um, he said a certain animosity has existed between the Mexicans and the Americans, to such an extent that the Americans have wished all their heart that Mexicans put together had no more than one head to cut off. And so, I mean, he's trying to touch on the fact that it was and you understand, I mean, it has to be difficult for the United States at this time too, because like how do you get a shitload of people from a different country and a different culture to easily be able to like assimilate into this shit? And then when the topic of slavery and racism comes up, because shit, Xander cut, just completely lost my thought.
Sander,
I'm gonna find my thought.
find that thought. I'm gonna drink some water.
We're back. Okay. So my boy Francisco is trying to touch on the fact that that Mexico, since losing this land, and with the question of Texas and Arizona, New Mexico, California, people are trying to figure out like, what's going to happen. Are we going to expand like slavery into these states? Because that was what the Southern push was for expanding that far. So Texas became.
They were looking over at Texas. They were like, okay, that's a lot of land right there.
Yeah, it is perfect for some cotton plantations and shit. And he wrote, dude, just like drop the mic on this one. He said, here in America, among a people so proud of their government, they do not care much for moral delicacy. And this is the 1850s, and this guy's already spitting.
Damn, Pancho's spitting, bro.
I mean, it's just, and then, I mean, you obviously, you're trying to police and control people that originally have no loyalty to you. So you obviously have to go overboard if you're the United States. Like, you got to be fucking totalitarian as shit. There was a Vagrancy Act of 1855. I think this was California, known as the Greaser Act. So that's how old that term is for fucking. I didn't know that the term was that old, that Mexican Americans were greasers. And the act was that anyone found like loitering in some of these like territories risked arrest and possible forced labor. Like, you can't even motherfucking like hang out like in your town.
Okay, vagrancy, 1855. So just loitering. That's it? Or you just loiter?
Literally just loitering. I'm assuming it's kind of like, I think some of the acts that happened in like the South, in the antebellum South prior to the Civil War, like in order to, and I think post Civil War, like trying to put free black people in prison. Like they, like Southern states and counties would make laws that like nobody during like the hour of like the workday could be like out, like unless you had a job, like you had to have a job, and if you didn't, like off, like it's just just creating the most creative ways you can to fucking just over police people and just like control the shit out of them, like just fucked up shit like that. And I mean, it's
like you're gonna see one kind of person that looks a certain way walking about, say whoever's enforcing that. And you're gonna see another person who is gonna look a little different, and they're gonna be a little darker. And who are you gonna walk up to? To you're gonna be like, oh, that guy's just going to work, obviously. And then you see someone darker, be like, okay, what's your story?
Yeah,
it's like racial profiling as early as it. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you call that straight up just.
I don't know. It was racial profiling. It's more just like racial policing. Like, bro, we looking for them.
Yeah. So what do you mean? Like, what does it mean? Possible forced labor.
I mean, I think it would mean like, I mean, I guess at that time, like I'm trying to think of like, I don't know, maybe like you would have like forced like railroad labor. I think like prisoners and like I know indigenous population like did like that type of shit. Because there was a big push at the time to create a big like southern continental railroad that went from like Carolina or something, or Florida, all the way to like Los Angeles, like moving completely west. There was a big push for that. And one of the things too, I mean, obviously that it just is bound to lead to is cases of racial violence, like you mentioned. You're talking about racial prejudice, and not even like a lot of people don't know, and I didn't even know, sadly, is the legacy of after this war and throughout the late 19th century and the early 20th century are the lynchings of Mexican Americans that happened throughout this time. There were, I think, I'm not familiar with what specific timeline it is, but I think they were able to trace like 282 lynchings in Texas, 188 in California, 59 in Arizona, 49 in New Mexico. And breaking down the incidents, this is an article that I found on JSTOR. This researcher found that between 1848 and 1879, the lynching rate for Mexican Americans in the West was 473 per 100,000 people. So that's pretty high.
And they keep killing us, and they take our land, and damn, dude.
I mean,
fuck James Polk. Polk.
James Polk, you're a son of a bitch.
Honestly, you're a whole ass bitch, James.
Yeah. Really crazy. You could pin this on one dude. I mean, not just one dude, but like that dude really fucking, he wanted them Mexicans dealt with.
And it's just I don't know. It's just fucked. Like even back then, that quote you had there, that like from Francisco, about how that animosity has been there. It's like 1840s, and it's still there. It's still there in some parts more than others.
Hasn't gone away.
Prevalent more than others. Like immigration has always been a hot topic. And reading some of these things and doing a lot of research, like you're definitely the history buff out of both of us. You're definitely, so this is like all a lot new to me. But reading some of these things, it's like you see the same arguments repeated. You see the same thoughts had.
Yeah.
And it leaves like little hope to like wonder if there's ever going to be progress.
Yeah.
It kind of turns you into a pessimist, really. The more you dive into it.
I thought the exact, so I'm reading, and by the way, I'm just gonna plug, hopefully she can like give us a check for this, but all the information that I'm getting for this podcast for this episode, was like largely inspired by this book. It's called and for everybody not looking on the YouTube version of this on video, it's called El Norte, the Epic and Forgotten Story of Hispanic North America, written by Carrie Gibson. It's a very large book. It's like 500 pages because it basically covers Hispanic North America. So like Spain's involvement in the continental United States, literally from 1492 until the present, of like the legacy of Spanish colonization in Florida, in Louisiana, South Carolina, Mexico, California, like all of that part, like, and how that like history has like transpired between like, the changing of governments and stuff. And I remember when I first read the book, I had the exact same thought that you just mentioned. Like I literally wrote it down in the book. Like this is the same shit that we argue about today. Like these same arguments about assimilation, these same arguments about immigration, about letting people become like citizens. The same, like it is just, or even like you realize how old like the how far back like the Puerto Rican statehood movement goes. Like, that's something that's gaining ground now, because of the Democratic Party holding majorities in the Senate and the House and the presidency. But like like Puerto Rican people, for example, of like, you know, wanting their own like autonomy, whether it be them being an independent nation or statehood to be able to make like more decisions for themselves. These conversations aren't new at all, and it's incredibly disheartening.
Yeah. Um, while we're on the topic of yeah, Biden, he said, right, during the debates, he said within 100 days he's going to provide a pathway to citizenship for all the like everyone that's currently in DACA, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have the direct quote. I saved it. I remember I watched it live, wrote it down right away. I'm calling big old bullshit. I have no faith, and if anyone on the podcast wants to put, everyone listening wants to put money on it, I will give you my Venmo, and we could put money down on it. That by the 101st day, not a single thing has been done. Yeah. So if I can make enough money, maybe I'll quit my job.
This would be cool. You make that much money off this one bet.
Yeah, anything's sky's the limit. Money's not
Give me
enough.
all of those Visa gift cards.
Yeah. iTunes hey, we're betting iTunes gift cards on this. But another thing that I keep seeing, that like another recurring theme along the topic of immigration, is that um whenever job security falters, whenever there's an economic downturn in the US, the first group of people that that immediately get called out are immigrants. Um, and we've seen it time and time again that we've been used as an expendable workforce, imported in when we need it, exported out when we don't, like a commodity. I think in Harvest of Empire, I'm not sure who said it, but no, it was in the Chicano documentary I sent you.
Yeah.
How they were talking about these landowners just saw workers like no different than a box or a tool, with absolutely no respect, for the people, for the humans they are. And that's another thing. Another thing that keeps popping up. Doing all this research, or you're doing all this research. I just read half of what you send me. But yeah, that's another thing, dude. It gets really discouraging to keep seeing that and wondering if like there's no progress, and then wondering if like when's that gonna happen again? When are they gonna say, you know, it's like tensions are getting higher and higher every day. When are they gonna, pull the next big old bullshit out of the bag?
Yeah. Well, I know
I don't know
that
if is that a phrase. When are they gonna pull the bullshit
bullshit
out of the
out the
bag,
bag.
dude?
I don't know if that's a phrase, but we
I
can.
made it.
I mean, like, yeah, it is now.
Just
But
made it
I
now.
that goes back because I remember in our first episode that was something that made you very uncomfortable and kind of made you be like, "Wow, I didn't know that." Like that is fucking wild. Was um when I shared the fact, and it's in the documentary too that you recommended,
Mm-hmm.
the Fields one, about the immigration raids in the 30s and the 50s, where people that were even American citizens, they were just so happened to be Mexican ethnically, were American citizens born in the United States, were just rounded up in fucking buses and deported.
The exact figure, or not the exact figure, but the estimate is 60% of the people that were deported during that time were American citizens.
Like, oh my god. Like I just like how
Y'all don't care about being American. You care about being white. Face it. James Polk, where are you?
but
wait, hold on. I got a bit.
Xander, we're gonna edit this out while Pedro gets his bit ready.
When I see James Polk in hell.
To anybody that obviously doesn't watch the YouTube, Pedro just put on a luchador mask, so he's gonna fight James K. Polk in the ring.
Top rope, people's elbow.
But
Okay, hold on. I hate to keep the bit going, but I think if I was gonna do anything, I would give him the Stone Cold Stunner, because I feel like that would be like, to hit him with the most American wrestling move
oh yeah,
in the
yeah,
depths of hell.
he'd be
That
like
would be like that'd
he
be
he wouldn't see
justice.
that he wouldn't see that coming.
Yeah,
He'd be he'd be like, "What is this Mexican doing?"
I'd be like, hey, made in America, baby. Anyway, sorry. Go on with your
Well, I know I had a
facts,
question for you because
brain wizard.
I had a question for you because you mentioned that it's like depressing to learn this stuff, and I agree, it is to an extent depressing, but does it like you read like when I read for example, I learned about a guy like Francisco Ramirez writing about this stuff in the 1850s in Los Angeles when Los Angeles is just a little pueblo. It's not the one of the largest cities in the United States that it is today. When I hear that he's saying and making arguments that are similar to the things that I feel or the questions that I want to raise and that you're raising and that you feel, it gives me, and I know it's just an emotional thing, like a sense of pride, and it gives me a sense of like, and not contentment, but like it makes me emotional because then I feel like I legitimately do have ties to my ancestors that are real and that is honest, because I can sit there and say after all these years it's not that much better. It's a little bit better, but these same issues are still destroying everyone's lives. And so it makes me feel like, a little bit empowered and like connected to people that I don't even know that are dead. Like I feel like connected to these people.
They're not dead. They're alive. Right in there. Right there, baby.
They're alive. If we were making some like fake like Mexican poem, they're in mi corazón.
They're in the tres leches cake within my heart, dude.
Okay, I got a question for you though, and this is something we talked about this a little bit. For anybody that doesn't know, the algorithm of TikTok is just incredible.
Yes,
incredibly scary.
We're grown men on TikTok.
Incredibly scary.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. We you recently sent me a video on TikTok that had to do with like commodifying trauma, the stuff that we choose to write, the stories we choose to tell, predominantly from like second gen, third gen American people that are descended of immigrants that choose to like commodify their parents' stories for clout, like admissions essays shit. Or if I'm writing a film and I want to put a bunch of Spanglish in it for it to sound like spicy, like shit like that. What I want to know, because I agree with her to an extent, but then why what is your reason, and why do you think that we don't have the conversations that actually matter, like whether they be colonialism, white supremacy, capitalism, shit like that, like shit that like the structures that actually are completely at fault for why this is the way things are today? Why do we not talk about it? Like, why in the media do we choose to focus on what you're talking about? The HuffPost articles about the stinky lunch and about, oh, I'm weird because I showed up with tortillas and I was weird because my white friend, like, and the shit that for a while you and I probably thought was like the most important conversation to be having too. Like, what prevents us from having the real conversation that needs to be had?
That is some deep shit that I was not ready for.
I know. I don't know the answer to. I just think it's a great thing for people to think about.
I'm gonna spit off the top of the dome here.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna look within myself. I think it in some kind of fucked up, like Stockholm syndrome-y kind of way, we've all kind of been conditioned to like lust after that American way of life, and like somehow we like feel guilt about like who we are. Not me. I love who I am. No guilt there.
No
but
regret.
I'm just saying in general, like now we're talking about this and we're like, because he's like all we ever did was wanted to fit in. I don't know if that sentence made any sense.
No, it does, because what you're saying, or at least what I understood what you're saying,
Say what I wanted to say, but better, please.
No, just correct me. The way I heard what you said is like, I think we through our family or through ourselves, we buy into the BS.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that the way to prosperity is to do as you're told, and by do as you're told, follow the rules that are laid out for what success means here in this
Mm-hmm.
country. And I think when you find out, as maybe we have, and eventually I think everybody does at some point, that it's kind of like a facade and that's like not real, and you still feel empty inside, instead of taking it a step further and being like, wait, maybe this whole thing is fucked up by design. Instead, it's, oh no, see, I feel empty because I wasn't accepted because I had tortillas in my lunch pail. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like we blame the wrong thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying, and like, and then what we're blaming in turn like causes some guilt because like you're, um, I don't even know if guilt's the right word, but like, yeah, you said it better than I did. But that's basically what I'm saying. It's like, oh, we could like tackle this big monster that is like this institution that's like, you know, at fault for a lot of what's going on, a lot of the issues, or I can be like, oh, I didn't fit in. I want to talk about how I didn't fit in instead of being like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a system in place that like strictly didn't want me to fit in.
Yeah.
And now
And
I
I mean,
have to like, yeah.
and this it shows that this podcast has evolved because I think, and I'll be transparent about it to the people listening. Like, I think we definitely started this podcast with the very thing that we're critiquing, like we had in
Oh,
mind.
absolutely, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we had in mind originally that this was going to be a podcast largely about that assimilation factor, about that not fitting in, about feeling isolated. And while that's all valid, I think what maybe I missed the mark before embarking on this little journey, because I know this is the season finale of this, is just that, yeah, how that the experience is not homogenous at all. And that there are so many like larger superstructures that we can tackle and talk about that are so much vastly more important than just making a podcast where two Mexican American dudes that liked fucking indie music felt weird about it.
Yeah. I mean, dude, yeah, this definitely has been like a therapeutic process for me, and I've definitely grown a lot as a person. And through the readings and listening to stories and talking to people and all that, I've learned like the while those things I felt were very valid and I never really voiced them, um, there's a bigger picture here. There's way more suffering than just like that emotional shit that you handle when you're younger. Like, um, decades of trauma, of uh, violence, of yeah, of suffering, dude. And yeah, sure, we don't know where we fit in, but we'll figure that out on our own time. But I feel like now I have more of an obligation to talk about like the bigger things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And rather than just be like, because I think even people that like mean well, like I'm talking like traditional, like like liberal, like someone that just loves like Joe Biden or like Obama, like just thinks that like that they're like the saviors of the world, like people like that. I think we get misled into thinking what those type of people think too, where we think for some fucking reason, I used to believe this, that the reason that I'm sad and feel alone sometimes is just because I don't see like Mexican American actors in movies. Like just
that's it,
like
dude. Yeah.
like you buy into the blind representation like thing of like, I don't know, and then you do a little bit of digging and it doesn't take that much like research to find out, brown faces in high places doesn't always doesn't has never led all in this country at least to prosperity for the masses and a upheaval. I mean, not on upheaval, but like a
Careful, the
complete.
FBI's listening. You said the magic word.
Like it's never led to real material gains for the poorest of the poor in this country. the people that don't have money to pay their rent or put food on the table or send their kids to school. Like
Yeah,
what
it's
does
like
what does a brown person being the senator for California, what like why do we obsess over that? What does that do? What it's not going to change that California has people living in tents off the freeways at an unprecedented level. It's not going to change that. They're not going to. They're getting the people that are elected are getting money from the real estate lobby to put laws that make it so that there's a housing shortage because it helps the bottom line of the real estate industry.
yeah. I mean, I feel like the representation matters to an extent, and that being like maybe a younger kid can like see himself in that position of power, but then that's like kind of where it ends because the rest of the adults are just like, okay, well everything's still shit. Um, I don't care what color you are, just for the love of God, do something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I get that. It's important for like for youth to feel like they can do something.
yeah, but even then, like I do, it's weird, dude. It's a mixed bag of emotions on my end, really, because yeah, representation matters. But even then, they never do it right. They never like, they always fuck it up somehow. Um, so what? Just come out with a good movie, and and then maybe we'll just forget about the rest of that.
Yeah, or at least
Just
not making a big deal about it. Like, yeah, we can get let's get our Mexican American rom com that we deserve as being like a big Hollywood like movie. Like, yeah, let's get that. But let's not like pretend like, oh man, this country is really changing.
yeah,
Like I get that's what you're like I get what you're saying. Like
yeah.
that stuff isn't bad, but why do we attribute so much power to it?
Mm-hmm. But while we're on that topic, if you guys are gonna, if hey Hollywood, if you're listening, if you're tuned in right now, Hollywood, um, Blue Beetle movie maybe, huh? He's a Mexican American superhero. Do that, and then cast Scarlett Johansson as him. Love to see ScarJo take on the mantle of Blue Beetle.
I would love to watch Steve Carell in a biopic about like Pancho Villa.
Dude. Um, or
Like they would just give him like a little bit of like a fake tan.
fuck it, dude. Yeah, yeah. Whatever. Just get the story out there. I'll let Steve Carell have that. I think Steve Carell and Jack Black are the two people that I'd give a pass to for playing a Mexican
Those are
American.
pretty good white people. I mean, we've already given it to Jack Black. I love the movie Nacho Libre.
I have mixed feelings about that movie.
You do. Let's hear them. This will be the bonus. If you're listening to this, is because you paid for our exclusive Patreon where you get our opinion on Nacho Libre.
Uh,
We're talking about representation. Go ahead. Yeah.
no, it's not like a representation thing. I thought it was like an okay movie. Like it's not gonna be like a breakthrough thing. I was just like, it's just okay.
Oh, I thought you have like a specific like opinion about something in it that like is there
No.
something you don't like about it?
Um. Man, I'm gonna put myself out here.
Say it. Go ahead.
The one dude is too skinny. I don't know why, but like, I'm sorry, dude. It's something I'm working through. But really skinny men, um,
Terrify you?
a little bit, little scared. It just doesn't sit right with me, and I know that those are issues that I have to deal with, and like I obviously have some. I don't like body standards. I don't know what the word is. Any of the rock stars from like the 70s. Nah,
It's scary.
terrifying, dude.
I will say it does. The movie does have a way of making some Mexican people look pretty weird.
Oh, dude, the scene with the woman that like was trying to get all up on Jack Black.
Yeah.
Weird, weird. When she like crawls back into the wall, like she scutters in.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck was that? That's a kids movie, I guess. But
Yeah.
the sister,
The nurse?
what's her
I mean
name?
the nun? Oh my god, the
The
nurse.
nun, the nun, the sister.
Encarnacion.
Bro, fine as hell. Oh my god, that's the best part of the movie for me. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 every time.
This is
Daddy
the
and little
representation we
daddy.
need.
More hot women in media. Hot women have been underrepresented for too long. All of our listeners are nice and lovely people, and I'm sure you all look very handsome listening to this, and we really appreciate your support. I don't know where I'm going with this. You're the one leading this episode. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, that's the last thing I just wanted to. We've been talking for a while. Wanted to wrap it up. I just wanted to, as like something to think on moving forward, something that I'll think on, and Pedro, something that you can and our listeners, and something that we'll have in mind as we craft our season 2 for for people to listen to, and that kind of sums it up. Is like we talk about these issues, we talk about immigration, we talk about the legal challenges and the history and all that kind of thing. But I think when, as we just talked about, this cultural thing of like, why do we emphasize culture so much when we can emphasize all these other like superstructures? I'll end it with this. This is something that is touched on in the book El Norte, that for a country that claims to be sovereign, like the United States, its own country that has its own culture, its own like thing that people have to assimilate to when they come here, and then other people for being from other places, like makes them feel, that isolated, lonely feeling. Like, how can you and anybody listening, like, challenge people that you know in your life that maybe feel this way? Like, how can you advocate for things like a border wall, want more border patrol people that you pay taxes for to be armed with assault rifles at the border to shoot and kill people that are attempting to cross so that they can give their families a better life? Or the people that are vigilantes that choose to monitor the border themselves. And when nonprofits and immigrant rights activists leave water and food for people that are crossing the dangerous desert, and these vigilantes come and they destroy it. They destroy the water, they destroy the food, because it just encourages people to keep crossing the dangerously warm and confusing, like, Arizona desert that people cross. How can you be for all of this? And how can you advocate for it, or at least be okay with it? Or maybe you're not even okay with it, but you don't speak up about it at all. But then at the same time, what do you do on Cinco de Mayo? You go celebrate with your friends and you go drink Corona and you drink Modelo, or you drink Dos Equis, and you love to eat tacos, and you and your family go eat at Tex-Mex restaurants where the waiters speak broken English, and you maybe give them a hard time for it or annoyed by it. Like, why can you love a culture but at the same time hate the people so much?
Yeah, vacation. The vacationing is like the main one. Like it's oftentimes the people, not everyone, people that have money to go vacation in Mexico are the ones that, in a heartbeat, would want the wall fortified and security heightened. And really, all that does, like, there's the manpower you'd need to have to secure every square foot uh, is insane. And what just ends up happening is that people, they just cross where there's less security, and oftentimes that's the more dangerous place to cross. Um, and it just raises casualties, um, and it raises casualties, and then more people get by, or not more people get by, but it's like you funnel all this money into it, you're just raising the number of deaths, and people are still getting by. Um, this isn't the solution, and it's been the U.S. that has meddled in Latin American affairs that have created this influx of people that have immigrated for like the longest time. So yeah, just
Yeah.
maybe don't. It's like yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not good at putting these thoughts together like you. But
Oh, it's okay.
earlier
Uh,
you asked me though, Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Earlier, you did ask me how I felt like reading these things and like seeing like reading about people that were like involved in all this stuff. And for me, what I've been feeling more is like I've just been getting mad at myself um, for not learning about this sooner, for not knowing all the details, you know. Because yeah, for a really long time, I just did not care about history. Um, I don't even know for yeah, I just didn't care. I was like, you know what matters? Math. You know what I hate? Math. And I like very useful real world knowledge of knowing the history of these conflicts is like so important. I don't yeah. That's how I've been feeling. Like not obviously proud of the people that made a difference. But mad at myself for not getting involved in some way sooner. Whether it's just like personal growth, or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think, I don't know. I mean, I've always loved history, but that doesn't mean that I've always like known about like this type of shit. Like I said, it took at least until college because my love of history in high school that I thought was like this really deep, passionate like love of history. I was like, I want to get like a PhD maybe in history or something. Like that love was very much solidified in like believing in like, American democracy and like fully believing in like these ideals. Like, I mean, we all drink the Kool-Aid and then, you got to fucking vomit it up at some point. Like you don't have to feel bad. And, you know, we all are coming to terms with that type of trauma and that type of experience at a different pace.
I mean that's comforting a little bit. One more thing I wanted to touch on real quick before we do cut out. I know we already signed off like 10 minutes ago, but so watching Harvest of Empire, um, I'm learning all these things, right? First comment is like calling it propaganda or whatever. And there was like there was a part of me that was like it felt like you seen those videos where it's like or like the videos like what's something that um is legal to know but feels illegal or something. I don't know, some stupid TikTok trend. Um that's kind of how I felt watching it. I was like, am I supposed to know this? Is this public information? Like, do the people know about this? And then once that ball started rolling, I was like, is this a conspiracy theory? Am I a conspiracy theorist right now? Like, if I tell people, are they gonna believe me? Just because it's like, obviously, uh, these are facts. But the fact that they've been hidden or like just not talked about, um, make me feel like, I don't know, made me feel like that while I was doing like my research or whatever. Does that make sense? Like it's
No,
just
it
like not something
does.
that's often talked about, and I just feel like I have certain friends' parents who are conservative. I felt like if the conversation were to come up, obviously I'm not going to go into someone's house and like start a political debate, but I feel like if I were to bring some of these talking points up, they would just they would call it bogus, fake, you know, and it makes me like like am I the crazy person?
Yeah, I mean, no, you're not,
Should I
and
should I not get the vaccine?
you're not crazy, and it's because you're taught like what I mentioned earlier. Like we're taught, I think, coming to terms with and accepting that a lot of what you were told in the public education system is propaganda. I think once you get to that like standpoint, it's really like you're going like the experience you're going through, like it's very difficult, but at the end, I think it's very liberating because I mean, it like obviously you've had the experience where it's like it's really raw and it makes you emotional right now, but I think once you get to a certain place of understanding and then wanting to learn deeper and learn deeper, I think it gives you a sense of pride. Like you know like the real story of what's behind what so many people like, you know, the real story behind so much of the lies that people believe about how their world came to be. And that's why, to anybody listening that hates on history and social studies, I will find you and I will come for you. Because the reason why I want to continue to study this and, you know, educate people on it is that I don't think that people can make their own situation better and the lives of the people around them better until they understand why things are so bad right now. It's incredibly powerful and liberating and scary, but comforting to know, like, wait, this isn't random. Like, it's not my family's fault that we're fucking poor. It's not my fault that I haven't achieved the things I'm supposed to if I don't have access to a fucking automobile. I don't have access to healthcare. My parents can't afford to pay college tuition. I had to drop out of high school to help my mom pay the bills. Like, if that's your situation, like, it's not your fucking fault. You can understand from a historical perspective why people's lives have been so difficult and just fraught with terror and just bullshit. And that's why history is important, I think, because you learn why that happens.
Yeah, that was really good. I liked what you said there. That was a good combination of words. I was gonna ruin it. I was gonna ruin it with a joke when you were like, once you see the truth. I was about to make the joke like, there's a QAnon podcast being recorded at this very moment that just had the same sentence.
That's so true. Once you've opened your eyes to realize that the fluoride in our water is making us grow lizard tails,
Yeah,
it's a game
that's
changer.
That's why I take a file to my butt every morning to make sure the lizard tail doesn't grow. My butt file.
So I wear a butt plug at all hours of the day to make sure that the tail can't grow.
So I have my wife peg me every night. So that
it's like it's pushing the tail back up inside my body.
We're not king shaming. We're not king shaming.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with not wanting your tail.
We're shaming people that don't want their tail, because I can't wait for mine to come in.
Okay. You feel like we've done enough, Senor?
Yeah. How do you feel about it? I feel good.
I feel good. I hope that people listening feel, I mean, hopefully not too sad, but feel good about stuff. I hate to end on a sad note. I really do. So maybe we'll say one more happy thing after I say this. But I would just say, because of all that we've talked about and all the historical trauma, just remember, when you choose not to give a shit or you choose to falsely have faith in the type of people that you do, on a government perspective or on a celebrity perspective, or if you are just a fucked up, racist ass Trump supporter who can go fuck himself, just think, from 2014, when Obama is in office, 2,500 people have died crossing from Mexico to the United States. Like 2,500 people dead in the desert. So just think, just when we talk about these conversations, like, that's why we're having this. It's why we do this podcast. That's why we want to, learn more, talk to more people. It's because those people's lives matter. Their experiences matter. The people that successfully made it over here matter, and the people that hadn't successfully made it over here, their lives matter just as much. Those people should not have died in vain. And yeah.
Oh man. Moment of silence for those people. And but I would like to say that you are speaking to, you're trying to invoke empathy from a crowd that I imagine overlaps significantly with a crowd that doesn't care how many of their own citizens have died in this pandemic.
Sure.
So that's a tough battle. Like if they don't care about their own, you know, claim to be so American, but they don't care about these American lives we're losing, they're definitely not gonna give a shit about my people's lives. Um, I don't know how to make this funny. Two truths and a lie.
We should just post a meme of like Galaxy Brain, like Trump supporters, and like all these dead people around them, and them just being like, "This is fine."
No, it's like real Americans don't get COVID.
That oh my god, yeah, that's a fucking hold on. We'll talk about that when COVID is more of like a historical topic in like the next 15 years. That'll be season 40, episode 30. We'll talk about how nobody gave a shit when Hispanic and Black people died of COVID, like at all.
It's dude, our sponsors are gonna be like Pepsi Cola canned air, and
Amazon Oxygen.
yeah, Amazon Oxygen, Amazon Water. They have a monopoly on water.
Ooh, you know. All right, let's really wrap it up now.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Hey, thank you so much for listening. This has been Not So Fresh Off the Boat. We've gone through a metamorphosis this past season, and we really appreciate anyone that's tuned in for every episode, if not just a few. We started off not knowing where we belong, and we found a sense of purpose through it all. And we hope you guys stick around. Maybe we'll change again, but we definitely want to make season 2 more lighthearted. We have Twitter, we have Instagram. We check all our DMs, we read all the comments. If you have any suggestions, let us know. If you'd like to be on the podcast, let us know. Obviously, we're not going to let you on just because you asked, but if there's a good story to be shared, every story is worthwhile. But
If you don't have that Oscar-winning immigrant story,
that's fine. But if you don't have that juicy fucking filet mignon of stories, we don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
No, we do want to hear, but I'm just saying, like, it has to be related to the podcast. You can't just come on here and talk about growing up in Elkhart, Indiana. I guess you could.
Yeah.
Shout out Elkhart. Shout out Elkhart.
Shout out Elkhart. I don't know what that is, but shout out Elkhart.
It's just a city. I don't even know if I know anyone from there. All right. Okay. I think that was great note to end it on, and I'm going to stop recording now.